I've got millions of questions. I've got millions of debates I want to provoke with you, but I want to give you the opportunity to set the agenda. We've had 4 remarkable opening contributions. You've been challenged about what culture it is that you are creating for yourself. I thought it was a very challenging talk and a contribution from Yves, because it's very hard to push back against dominant culture in society, as many of you know as young people better than me. And creating your own culture might sound easy, but it's very hard. So that was a wonderful contribution. Then we heard about the importance of dealing with gender equity, and as boys and as men, we often don't want to come to that conversation, which was an important one. And I think the question that rings for me still from Shenia's contribution is whether, as young people, you take your freedom sufficiently seriously. And if you do all of these things, then of course, as Honse says, you might still struggle to get a slice of tertiary education or the economy. So firstly, can we put our hands together and give them all a round of applause once again? I am going to ask you to decide which of these themes you want to pick up on. I saw lots of agreement during the opening statements. I saw some people looking very concerned. I saw 1 or 2 disagreements with your body language. So I'm going to allow you to ask the questions. Obviously, it's a forum, so we can have a vast range of different themes we want to drill down into. My only wish, and it's going to be my sole role here today as moderator, is to see whether we can make a little bit of progress and go into detail with 1 or 2 of the topics. But in the first instance, I'm going to immediately throw it open to the floor. So put up your hand and then I'll recognize you. Say your name, tell us which school or institution you are from, and then you can tell us your story. Ask a question, agree, disagree with anything that was said, and we'll take it from there. Do we have roving mics? We do? Yeah. Okay. My eyesight is not great, but there's a hand right at the back, which was the first one that shot up. So we'll go there. And then the gentleman over on the left, yes, you will go second, and then we'll come to the front, just to vary it. Can I also just say, before we throw it open, I love the energy of young people. I can feel the energy in the room, but let's also learn to listen actively, okay? You don't want to be that guy or young lady who's waiting to speak. You need to listen very actively when someone else speaks. So let's also take this opportunity to rehearse how to be in proper dialogue with one another.
Good afternoon, guys. My name is Sepo Mureki. I'm from Girls and Boys Town. What I'd basically like to disagree on is when the lady there, forgot your name, sorry, when we said, like, us, youth, we're getting too much freedom. That's why we're not passing in school. I actually disagree on that, because it's actually not true. There's different kinds of perspectives that make us not actually pass at school and everything, but it's not too much freedom. Okay, thank you.
In fact, I'm interested in the topic of education. I would like to know, in fact, anyone can respond to this question. I'd like to know what is the role of COSAS or organization like COSAS in post-apartheid South African schools? Thank you.
Yes, my question is to everybody. Is regarding recently read your article, Decolonizing Afrikaans, and I read another article about how parents in certain areas black parents decide to voluntarily take their kids to institutions or schools that teach in both English or Afrikaans that they don't prefer to get taught in their home language, like Setswana, for instance. So my question to everybody is, do you think that our parents who are taking us to these schools that are Afrikaans and whatnot are now turning back on the fight of 1976, because that was against Afrikaans being put on us and whatnot. So now all of a sudden they are like, no, the thing you were fighting for, we want to go back to. So that's my question.
Okay, thank you. That's a great question. All right. By the way, if you're on Twitter, please use the hashtag Apartheid Museum. If we trend, we'll have you back here again next year. That's the deal, okay? And to my panel members, if you can respond to any question you want once I come back to the panel. So if you're going to remember it, that's great. You probably have a better memory than me. Otherwise, please just take notes of anything you want to respond to. But I'm going to take a few more contributions from the floor before we do so.
Good afternoon. I'm Laurel Harry from Fred Norman Secondary. I'm a teacher dressed in school uniform. Okay. I do not have any questions, but I'd just like to add on a few statements. A bit of information as to what you said, well, my own opinion. Okay, so first, the culture. You spoke of culture and it had me thinking. So we've conformed to, I don't know, as the youth of today, this mediocre mainstream of ideologies, okay? Because we've allowed the media to mold us into this, I don't know, MTV-based, Trace, Rihanna type of lifestyle, and that's what we were after, all right? To the gender equality. I feel like we're knowledgeable about what an independent woman is, but the weakness of wanting these materialistic things that our new paradigm of youth has come with, the latest sneakers and whatever, has made us want the materialistic things. And, well, we're forgetting, we're lusting over those things and we want to be an independent woman. We go to varsity, we get our degrees, but we forget that we're supposed to be actually doing this, not to be this, not cougar or blessee or blesser. We forget that the gender equality thing is supposed to be us working together as the youth to push this world forward, because the world needs us to take care of it as much as it takes care of us. We go around wanting to be independent, but the independent is supposed to be for us to work together as a unified youth, the way they did, the females did during the 1976 era, all right? And then the education, well spoken, Fred Norman. But the question I have is, who have we given our minds to? The youth of 1976 worked together perfectly, and they stood up for the whole Bantu education thing, well, against the Bantu education thing. And where is our mind? Where are our minds right now? That's the only question I have. Education. And then economy. Okay, so you speak of us not having the money to go to school and study. The funds are there. My issue is that we go to UJ, we study education. There are Funza Lushaka students who get piles of money, much more than they need for that year. And then all they do is save it up. And before their degree is over, they have enough money to buy a car, while there's somebody sitting without it. So I'm thinking the government can work, or the youth works together to find a way that can make these people that give the money for the learner to study, or the person to study, to distribute the money properly. Because a lot more can go to varsity if you pay the varsity and whatever fees that child needs, instead of just throwing a stack of money at them and telling them to study.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. My name is Sipho Mabaso. I'm the founder of Reader World. We do reading culture projects, book clubs, and so forth. We are the people who set up the book club at Hector Peterson, and I thank the kids there. I just want to ask two questions. One is, those of you on the panel who were not better prepared for this, you know yourselves. It's actually an insult to come here not properly prepared and come here and wing it. That's not the way you do it. The lady who was speaking about youth having too much freedom, she was better prepared. She takes this seriously. She takes all these people here seriously, and she came prepared. I won't mention the ones who winged it. The ladies were great. But one of the guys was winging it, and you know yourself. I won't mention you. But next time, prepare. We are not here to play. People died on this day. So it's no playtime. Running this country, if all the cabinet ministers died, you young guys should be able to run this country. That's what I ask people at WITS. if the entire administration dies, would we be able to run VETS right now? And the question was not answered, because that's the real question. My second question is, how come you guys read less than we did when you have more books available to you? You have more information available to you. How come you read less than when we had no books available to us? We had to struggle so much. I can imagine how Kaiser had to struggle, how Eusebius had to struggle for information, because most of it was banned. All of it is out there now, but you guys just don't care. You know, how come that is? I just want you to ask that question.
Thank you. Hold on.
Okay.
I've only heard from one lady so far. The boys and the guys are dominating. You are role modeling gender inequality. So we're going to come to the front here. I'm going to take these two voices, and then I'm going to come to my panel. I saw Ms. Wadey there looking at me as the moderator. I'm not going to protect the panel. I'm sure they can respond to that adult who's saying they're winging it.
Okay, thank you. Good morning or afternoon. My name is Cili Musa Shivambo. I'm from the Hector Peterson Museum Book Club. Now, my question is in the lady in the blue. When we talk about education, you talked about something very important when you say education is the key to success. It is. But now the question is, you keep on changing the keys to success. You keep on changing the locks, actually. So now it's a matter of decolonizing the education system. I'm a history student, I do economics, I do whatever. But now the problem is that I know more of Russian history, American history, more than I know anything about what happened in 1976. You only telling me about what happened after 1994. You're telling me about the freedom, wonderful. Now that's where Nelson Mandela comes about. I know only about Nelson Mandela. And in grade 7, I only knew about the Khoisan. And then that was it. So what I'm saying here is that when we talk about challenges that prevent us from learning, is because we become very ignorant to the fact that we have to learn about someone else's history, and we here at home. I need to know that history so that it could work at my advantage. And to Mr. Mabasa at the back, we are young people and we do learn as you provide those books for us. Thank you very much.
Good day to
Okay, hold on. Before you speak, you are not from the Hector Peterson Reading Club, are you? If you are, I want a lady from another institution or school, please. Just for variety's sake.
Good day to
I'll come
everybody.
back to you in a while, don't worry.
My name is Hope, and I'm from Fred Norman, and I'm referring to you about females. Well, as a black person in South Africa and a black female, I feel like, I hear everybody say we are free, but I don't feel that I'm free because, and I feel in a way that we can't move forward because we're not dealing with our internal problems. Like, I still blame our cultures for the way men today treat women. So yeah, that's my point that I have towards your...
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to come back to my panel members. Let's have a little bit of a discussion and response. Who of you would like to pick up on any of the comments or any of the questions? Okay.
To answer the man at the back, figuratively, it's like when your fridge is full, you are not hungry, but when it's empty, you're starving. It's like I'm answering your second question, all right? The one you said, why do we have books but not learn? The one. So that's how it is. It's actually something that happens automatically. You don't know how it is, because when you have enough money, you don't know where to waste it, or it just I don't know how to put it, but I do know that experience of having money and not having money, because I know that when you have a lot, you care less about things, but when you have less, you care more about things. I believe I've answered your question figuratively.
Okay. If I want you to respond to his first question, I am a trainee Sangoma. I know what he was referring to there. I could feel it. I think he's accusing you of not taking this youth forum seriously. Do you want to confess or do you want to respond?
Okay. I'll respond more than confess. I was actually told it was more of a discussion. So that's why I opened by saying that I'm not giving statements and telling people what to do, because I'm also here to learn. Because I'm actually Congolese. I was born Congo. I grew up in South Africa. So I didn't want to be offensive to anyone, because though I grew up in this country, and that's why I even chose the topic of culture. I'm sure by the way I speak, you can tell that there is not a sense of lack of culture. Well, there's a sense of lack of culture traditionally, right? But I do know myself, and I do know my own culture and the cultures that I have essentially chosen to suit me and to better myself. So I was told there was more of a discussion, so I also wanted to learn. So I did the research and I found out, and because it's such a broad topic and there's so many different types of cultures, and to talk about one culture, I think specifically in this space and time that we're given, would be biased to all the other forms and different types of cultures that you get. That's why essentially I wanted to talk about the general idea about it, so that each person individually can get affected and not just remember this as a speech that was said one day, but actively make people think and want to change. As that one teacher that spoke said, it made her think. Thank you.
I'd also like to kind of have a counter argument to what you said, your first statement. I believe that we all have our own opinions, right? And we all have the right to our own opinions. I honestly feel like this is my team for the day, so I have the right to stand up for Eve. You had no right to come and single him out while he's speaking his mind. I'm sorry. I'm young, and I respect you as an elder. Please understand, you have to respect us as well. You don't know how Eve feels. You don't understand the impact that your words have on him, right? If you had addressed that to me, I would have cried. I would have been really upset, because it's just rude. Please, I'm asking you as someone who has ounces of respect for you, just please think about what you say before you pitch it. And I apologize. And sorry, you could see that I was quite irritated. I'm so sorry, but I apologize to Eve about this. And to the thing about books, you need to also take into perspective, and I know that we do have more access to books, but also funding is also a big thing, and not everyone can afford a library card, right? Yes, when you are in university, you are provided with a student card where you are allowed to go and take out books, but not everyone has access to it at the moment, and not everyone has the pleasure of reading or going to a library to read, only maybe in schools and for theoretical work. And I feel when I was in school, I did not read. I still do not read as much as I do read my phone and social media and interact on social media. From my own personal experience, I did not find interesting going to the library, because I'm like, but I have books and textbooks that I can read, to inform me. And I didn't feel that, as much as my parents told me that it will enhance your vocabulary and it will help you understand situations on a broader scale, honestly, it didn't really provide, for me, educational meat as much as my textbook does. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm not attacking you. I'm just replying to you and trying to reason with you. Thank you.
Okay, I will answer this lady in front. I totally agree with what you said, that we have become ignorant. And that's why I'm answering the guy right at the back that said we don't have a lot of freedom. Now, what I said is, in my speech, I said, or in the conversation that I had, I said, maybe it's because we have too much freedom, maybe. I didn't say we have too much freedom, but I guess everybody is entitled to their own opinion. So with this lady in front, I know we have become ignorant to the fact of culture and about our history. Now that's why we have like public holidays that you can go. We are like she says, we have our phones. Your internet is like there, just a click of a button and you're there. You can Google and things. As much as you know about other countries' histories, you can learn about your own if you have interest in it. You see, if you have interest in it, you can. And now what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that you have to have interest in it. I'm saying if you go, like he said, read more. So read more of your textbooks that have African history in. Because if you know more about another country's history than your own, then just try the best you can to learn about African history. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not arguing with you. I'm saying I actually agree with you that we have become ignorant to our own culture. It's the same like the teacher said there from Fred Norman. We follow Rihanna. She's an American, that side. We follow their trends, but we don't want to wear African skin culture the way the Khoisangs wear and things. But we can wear other stuff that Rihanna and Drake and them all are wearing because we are exposed to it. We constantly see it. Now, what if we were exposed to African culture the way we are to American culture? We would constantly do the stuff that Africans are doing the way we do the stuff that Americans are doing. I know I'm one of that people. I see some of the celebrities with fake nails and I'll put on for me fake nails and I'll dress up for myself. When I'm in the mirror, I try that. You know that Instagram eyebrows, even though I know it's never going to work out for me, I try it. But if I saw Maria Makeba on the TV and I see she has a sexy skirt on, and I'm more used to the American culture, I'll rather go to the American culture than wear that sexy skirt Maria Makeba is wearing because she's from South Africa. So I say if we are more exposed to African culture, we will start learning more about it. That is all I'm saying.
Okay, I'm very curious. How many of you have access to a library? Okay, hold on. So that's less than half the room, right? Now, all of you have put up your hand. Just keep up your hand. Yeah. Those of you who have your hands up, how many of you have read a book this year cover to cover? Keep your hand up. Okay. So, that's pretty good, because what that indicates is that if you don't have resources, you don't have to. This is an honest youth forum, by the way, right? I saw someone's hand being dragged down. Thanks, you can take them down. If you don't have resources, it's very difficult to read. And there's clearly a correlation here between access to the resources and the likelihood of having read a book cover to cover. Books in this country are incredibly expensive. I'm a published author, and I think that my own books are too expensive. And you need to be middle class to be able to afford to buy a book. And if we don't get a library into every school and revive our community libraries, I think any conversation about reading is almost an unfair conversation in an unequal society. Okay, let's go for our second round. And a lot of hands up already. Where are the folks who have the mics for me? Great. And I want to start with young people. There was also a generational mix that I didn't like in that first round. Okay. I will get to everyone, I promise. Lady over there.
Good day, everyone. I'm Praise Putelezi from Fred Norman Secondary.
And I'd like to add my view on the point from Senya. You know, as youth, you are taught about what happened in the past. But when you get into a classroom in 2016, you find a student more focused on what your friend is saying than what is on the board. And I think that with education, we are obliged to learn. They tell us you have to go to school, you have to become this. Sometimes as a student, you do not want to become what your parents tell you to become, but you want to become what you feel that you should become, but you feel like you're oppressed to become that person. And in most of the schools nowadays, you find a classroom full of children who are eager to learn, but then there's no resources for those children to learn. And we are expected to become the future leaders, but where is the future when education is just not available for everyone? Thank you.
Good day, everyone. My name is Bonolo, and I'm from Girls and Boys Town. And I just want to ask why each time the pass rate is low, we are blamed, and forgetting that we also have teachers. Some of them don't do their jobs in classes.
Hold on, guys. I think she had more to say, but she's decided to drop the mic. Okay, just pass the mic 2 rows in front of you.
I'm Jonathan Minari from Queens High School. I've got 2 things to say. One to Eves and the gentleman next to him. First thing to Eves is that when you replied to the man at the back, you said that you started by saying you're from Congo. And this country is ours as much as it's yours. I mean, that's what this museum is about. So that's all I want to say. And then to the guy next to you, fees must fall. I've followed it since the beginning. It's something that really interested me. But I feel like you're implying that government needs to do something about the kids who can't afford tertiary education. And I disagree with that. I'm 17 years old this year. Yes, I'm 17. But last year I was 16 and I had my first job. Okay? Got 15 rand an hour and I bought myself a motorbike. I could have used that money to put myself through tertiary, right? I feel like there's something my friends and I are doing where we've started something where we empower youth. We want people to see that they can do what they need to. It's not about, look what the government is doing, I don't have money to go to school. And yeah.
Hold on, just give the mic back to Jonathan. I just want to ask him a couple of questions. So, can you tell us a little bit more about how you became entrepreneurial, do you think? Is it your personality? Do you have help? Tell us the story behind that.
I'm not an entrepreneurial person, but I'm not very well off, my background. One of my dreams was to get a bike before I finished school. So it's something I did. And yeah, my parents were behind me. My parents helped me set up my CV. And with no qualification at all, I walked into that hardware store and I said, here you go.
Where did you work, sorry?
Mega Micah. It's a hardware store.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ride safely.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nampumelelo from Aurora Girls High. I'm actually standing here representing all the girls. I'd like to disagree on the lady, what she said about teachers, blaming it on teachers about our education. Firstly, I'm not going to say much, but it all lies in you and taking full responsibility of what you do with your education, of which it entails you having your own future and thinking about your tomorrow. Thank you, not much.
Who put up their hand next? Yeah. Yes. First him, and then we come to you.
Okay, my name is Magazi Wimbata, and I'm from Queens High School.
So I actually wanted to talk about what the gentleman over there said about social media. Actually, social media has created jealous behavior over illusions. Some of us are envious of things, relationships, and lifestyles that don't even exist. Okay, so another thing I wanted to talk about was how education, how we are free. I mean, freedom is, we are entitled to freedom to do hard work, not to go in the corners and talk about other people. When someone says that you are given democracy, you're given democracy to choose your own things, make your own choices. And choice is the greatest gift we ever given. And I also wanted to talk about Afrikaans as a teaching medium, right? Someone said that parents take their children to school to teach Afrikaans medium. I mean, the school that I go to right now, it teaches Zulu. I mean, you are not forced to go to a school that teaches Afrikaans. And either way, whether you do Afrikaans or Zulu, it's still the same as me. It's just that you're learning a foreign language. Okay. Okay. Another thing that I wanted to say was about funding. Back then, there was no funding. Think about Richard Maponya, the man who owns Maponya Mall. Think about how hard it was then to get funding. So I actually like Jonathan's idea that we should all become entrepreneurs. I mean, if you go to Soweto, how many alcohol advertisements you see, and then when you go to Sandton, you all see those Gucci bags advertising nice brands, but then why when you go to Soweto, you see alcohol brands? Why can't you see...
Hold on, give him a chance.
Why when you go to Soweto, you can't see people advertising about our leaders or things like that, but then they can only advertise alcohol. And that we as young people need to think about how we are going to brand ourselves in the future. We can't say that, expect the government to spoon feed us every time. Say that the government should pay for our books, for a textbook, for everything. How long will it take for us to fund ourselves? Or if Richard Maponya was able to be a businessman, or how great he is today, why can't we be like him? Thank you.
Hold on. Just pass it back there.
I'd like to say something on that guy over there. I forgot your name, I'm so sorry. You said, why is it's hard for a black boy to go to tertiary? I think you're being racist, because it's not only black people, even white people. Most of us have the mentality of white people are rich and all that. No, there are some white people who are poor and they don't get their chance to be in tertiary and all that. So I think that you should have made them also recognizable. Like, you should have said, why is it that that it's hard for a black and a white person to be in tertiary? And the hashtag fees must fall, I supported it a bit, but now I'm not supporting it. As my principal says, Mr. Campbell, he always says the government owes you nothing. You are the one who has to work yourself up. And that guy somewhere over there, he said something about us youth as not being free. I mean, so far, to me, we are free. I mean, it's Bantu education. Bantu education was made easy. So we are free so far. So I really don't see, I won't say that his statement is not relevant, but seriously, we are free as youth.
Okay, hold on, I'm going to come back to my panel for a little while. By the way, how many of you will retweet me if I tweet hashtag Mr. Campbell must fall?
Oh, okay. Oh, to answer the question, I think let's not make this a racial conversation or discriminatory conversation. But then, by basing it on a black child, is that looking at the stats, over 50% of black children are the ones struggling to get into tertiary level, because I believe, in my views, that politicians see Soweto as a place where they campaign to win votes and presidential elections, of course. And then Sandton is where they spend their money after they won, of course. So, us black people, to answer two questions at once, of course. And as black people, they prefer us to kill ourselves by drinking booze and in USA, let me say in USA, there's bottle stores and gun stores because there's always gang wars, of course. But now this is South Africa. There's bottle stores that show that we should kill ourselves with every penny we have by using it on booze, of course.
Thank you, Khonsi. Okay, guys, so just keep your hands down for a couple of minutes, right? So what I'm going to do now is I want to direct the discussion so that we can just keep focus on one or two of the topics for a little while. I'll come to the floor again and to the panel, but I want us to just try and see whether we can we don't have to agree on everything, but whether we can just get into a bit of detail on one or two of the topics. If I'm listening to you guys carefully, it's very clear, and I'm actually surprised, I expected more agreement amongst you on this topic, that on the one hand, there's a view coming through that we have a lot of power as young people, and how you exercise your choices can determine your destiny in life. And then on the other hand, pulling in the opposite direction is the reality that some of you choose to focus on, which is if you have constraints, if you don't have access to resources, if you don't have access to funding, if you don't have great teachers who are present for all the teaching time, then it doesn't matter how motivated you are individually. So there seems to be a tension between I have freedom, I can determine my own destiny, and on the other hand, the reality that if you are constrained, if you live in Alex rather than Sandton, that fact about your life will play a huge role. So I wanted to just focus on that. I want to start with you, Shania, because you introduced this question of freedom, which is a really beautiful point that you made. What is your view on this balance between if I really try very hard, if I wake up motivated, even if I live in a really poor part of Joburg, I can make it? Isn't the reality that as young people, this hall and this discussion would be very different if I was having it at Grayston Secondary School, at one of the rich schools in Sandton where I live. So is it not easy to say, be motivated, take your freedom seriously?
You know what I really say is, it's not always easy to say that. Don't look at where you come from. But for me, I have a motto, is not where you come from, but where you're going. And I mentioned it in the conversation as well. And I constantly say is, why should we let a poverty-stricken place determine where we're going? Why should we let a certain somebody or a certain place determine who we're going to be, what we're going to be, and where we're going? The real question I ask myself is, are we working hard enough to go to places? Or are we always just using that excuse of, I come from a poverty-stricken place and I can't become a president because my mother doesn't have a fee. I come from a house, I'm the only child, my mother's a single parent, I'm sickly, but I don't use that as an excuse. I rather use it as motivation. And I say, that motivates me to become better in life. Where I come from, that motivates me. I was like, okay, I come from Ennerdale. People call it a farm. I say that's my farm. It's my palace. I enjoy my palace because my farm has a shop right where I can buy food and I can eat. My farm has a place where I can go jump. It provides everything. So even Soweto, I love Soweto. People say that if you come from a poverty-stricken place, you just might not go far in life. Look at Nelson Mandela. Where does he come from? Soweto. But he stayed in Soweto. He stayed in Soweto. That is my main point, that he stayed in Soweto, guys. I'm not saying that he comes like from Soweto, but he stayed in Soweto. And another thing is, your past cannot determine your present. That is the main thing for me. You can't let your past determine your future, or where you come from determine your future. Because if you allow that, then everybody can will not be a president or will not be. Because I mean, if I think of myself, I'm just making an example of myself. I wouldn't be sitting here if I let my poverty-stricken place get to me. I wouldn't be in school. I wouldn't be even sitting here today because I would have given up on life. And I would have said, oh, what? I don't need to worry about education. I don't need to worry about this. I have my freedom. I have everything. I can leave school. But I made a choice, and I love what that girl said, that your choice is the most powerful gift that has been given to you. And I like it because the choices you make determine where you're going. So practically, it's your mindset. If you change your mindset and you make the right choices, then you will go to the right places. That is my main thing. That is how I love life, and that is how I feel I go places.
Thank you, Sonia. Sydney, do you agree with that?
There are parts that I agree with and parts I don't. I agree with the fact that it is your choice and your decisions determine your future. But I also want to look at the realistic point of view is that people just don't want to do it because they feel that they're not entitled to do it. And I mean, someone brought up the fact that, Shinya did, that like your past really shapes, well, your past, in some people's mindsets, your past would shape who you are. And because of that, people, as much as people say that, no, because I'm from Soweto, I'm not gonna like be anything or whatever. I don't even know how to round myself up. But like it's your drive, it's your want. Like, do you really want to do it, or would you rather just sit? Would you rather sit in your poverty and dwell in it? And you know what I mean? Sorry, I'm not making sense, am I? But also, I quickly want to deter just a bit to what you said, Jonathan. Okay, about, or someone said the government doesn't owe you anything or whatever, something like that. I feel like the government has taken a lot from us, and they have abused it, and they have abused their right to money and their access to money. And no, I want to counteract what someone said about the bursaries. There aren't a lot of people given bursaries. There isn't a lot of money being provided. I have experienced that. My friends have been rejected from the bursary list, and they had to drop out of school. They couldn't even finish, you know? And even some of the people that have been given bursaries, it's not enough, you know? It pays for their tuition fees, which is ridiculously expensive, and it pays for their textbooks, but it doesn't give them accommodation. It doesn't give them a food budget. As much as there are bursaries, I'm not trying to lie or whatever, but there are bursaries that do provide that, but there are also some that do not. So we can't be oblivious to the fact. Yeah, that's all. Sorry.
Thank you.